Hey everyone, this is Sebi from Valorant Central. Welcome back to another video on the channel. So in this video, we're going to be talking about a pretty popular topic in the Valorant community, and that is whether the game will ever come to console. We'll be looking at some recent news from one of the head developers of Valorant on this topic, and I'll also be giving my own personal opinion on whether I think this is possible and whether it can happen. Most of you probably don't know this, but I actually started as a console gamer and just recently moved to PC in the past few years. Because of this, I feel like I could be pretty unbiased with my opinion, as I have been on both sides of things. I ask, if you do want to see Valorant on console, be sure to leave a like on this video. We never know who may be able to see this video, and if we are able to get a Riot employee to see it, it could possibly help towards the cause. Now, I thought it would be a good time to make this video, as one of the head developers did say in an interview that they are currently prototyping how Valorant would work on console. They believe there is a certain way to experience Valorant, and if this experience can be replicated on console, then they could add it.
We're prototyping that right now. Like, we are definitely prototyping that right now. But there's a way to play this game, and there's a way to experience this game that we're not entirely sure translates completely to console play.
This is good news for you console players, as they are currently looking into making it work. From a realistic standpoint though, do I think moving to console would be a good idea, and would it work? Now, to be completely upfront with you, the answer to this is yes. Now, before you click off the video, I have some things to back up my statement, and I think the best thing to do is to look at some of the biggest disputes towards this topic and give my counter arguments to them. So to start off, what I've heard as being a problem with moving Valorant to console was that there are too many ability and weapon inputs. Unlike a game like Overwatch, for example, where you could have a few abilities and one ultimate and wouldn't have to switch between guns, Valorant requires even more button slots for all of the abilities and weapons, and people don't think that this is possible on a controller. Now, my counter argument to this is to just look at what Epic Games managed to do with Fortnite. They are able to cram nearly 10 different buttons all on one controller by being creative with the setup. They did this by allowing to toggle between the attack buttons and the build buttons. Now, I think something like this definitely could be done in Valorant if limited button space was the issue. Having a toggle between certain abilities or weapon slots could definitely be possible, and allowing players to customize their layout would make things great too. For example though, I think something like this would work as a controller setup. In this case, you have the left stick down to silent walk, the right stick down to crouch, A/X to jump, the other 3 buttons and 1 bumper for abilities, and the last bumper for switching between weapons. The triggers to shoot obviously and aim down sight, and the D-pad slots to ping and spray. Now yes, this doesn't flow as smoothly as on PC, which has a ton of buttons to work with, but it does in fact work. Now, another argument I see a lot of times in the comments on my past videos is that PC games on console was already tried with CSGO and it didn't work, so Valorant won't work either. Now, for those of you who may be a bit confused, yes, CSGO did release on Xbox 360 back in 2012 and it did go horrible. The problem is that this was also 8 years ago. The technology and caliber of consoles has grown greatly. Players are now able to experience games in 60 FPS on consoles, and this doesn't even include the better, more powerful next-gen consoles that will be releasing soon. I believe that in these 8 years that have passed, something much better and more suited for console can be created that would be much better than the console CSGO release. A lot of people also comment about the aim assist situation on console, and that a game like Valorant would never do well if aim assist was involved. And yes, I do completely agree with this, but I do think what they could do is something like what Rainbow Six on console was like, where they had no aim assist in the game at all. It went strictly based on controller aim mechanics and actually played very well from my own experience. I think this would still keep the aim skill aspect that Valorant needs, but allow this to be done on a controller. Now, the last point I'd like to bring up, and this is just the idea that at the end of the day, why not add Valorant to console? I feel as though console players sometimes get too much hate from PC players, but keep in mind we are all just trying to have fun playing video games no matter what platform we are on. We actually have a lot more in common than you may think, even though some people are playing on a controller and some on a mouse and keyboard. Now, I'm not saying that they will need to have cross-compatibility or anything. I believe they should actually make console Valorant its own servers, have Xbox players and PlayStation players play together, but never mixed with PC. And yes, if they did add console Valorant, it would never be as competitive as PC Valorant, but does that really matter? At the end of the day, a lot of people just want to be able to play Valorant for fun, so there's really no harm in letting people do that. Not to mention the amount the Valorant community would actually grow from having console players involved too. Look at some of the recent games that came out. The biggest ones have all had console and PC support, such as Overwatch, Fortnite, and just recently Warzone. Valorant on console would actually help the PC community too. If Riot Games can make more money on the game by allowing console players to play, that just means more money that could be spent on game development, different big Valorant events, and even bigger prize pools for Valorant tournaments hosted by Riot Games. I think many people would actually be surprised by the amount the PC community could gain from having console players, as they do make up a large portion of the gaming community. My optimal plan that I see for the future would be for Riot Games to hire their own team focused just on console Valorant. This would mean they could provide more people with jobs and wouldn't have to focus any less on the PC community. They could strictly work on console Valorant and figure out the best way for it to work, and if added, this team could focus on some updates strictly made for console Valorant only. Now, at the end of the day, it seems like the final say on this topic is going to come down to the opinion of the Valorant developers. Do they think that the game on console could provide the same experience they are looking for? Personally, I don't think it will ever be the same as the PC experience, but I do think it could be made good enough to where console players can play it. Let me know what you think on this topic in the comments below. For those of you who are for the idea of Valorant on console, why do you think it will work? And for those of you who are against it, tell me why in the comments below. I'm curious to see your opinions on all of that. Remember to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things Valorant, and drop this video a like if you did find it informative and helpful. That's about it for this video, and thanks for watching.